Now, how do we share this to Facebook from here? Is it
Do
on
you
a
see a
page
link now
somewhere?
that says share? Yes, it's on the show's page. The Walking Into Your Purpose show with April.
All right, let me find that.
Do you see it? Let me go to it so you can. And I'll
Yes, yes, it's up there. I'm about to share it right now.
Here you go.
Where it's located, top of the
Hello,
page?
everybody, and welcome to the. Yes, it should be a share button now since we are live. Do everybody see it?
I'm trying to get to the page to do it, but I'm not getting to it.
I still don't see it.
I'm on the page,
It's
but I
okay.
do not see a share button.
I'm going to go back. I'm not going to try anymore. I'll share it later.
It's not letting you share it?
It's okay.
Okay. They can always go back. I'll
They can see it
do
later.
it once we get started. Hello and welcome to the Walking Into Your Purpose show with April. Today we're going to be talking about Ahmaud Avery, the young man that was murdered in Brunswick, Georgia. We have some amazing guests today. We have the Reverend Jane Page. We have attorney Stacey Jackson. We have Mr. Cedric King, attorney Teddy Reese, and we also have Mr. John Perry from Brunswick, that is the NAACP president, that will be also joining us. We're going to start first with attorney Teddy Reese and attorney Stacey Jackson. A lot of people want to know what do you think about this case? How do you feel it's being handled? Why it took so long to get to this point where arrest was made? We're going to start with you first, Attorney Reese.
Well, as far as from the arrest perspective, Attorney Jackson can certainly provide a little bit more insight from a criminal side because, that's his bread and butter. When I saw the entire incident, I certainly looked at it from a civil perspective and a violation of the civil rights. To have someone take your life in that manner and the way that it all happened with such unclear facts, because one thing we do know is that the initial story that was made public by the district attorney and some members down there of law enforcement, we learned that not to be the absolute truth. And so now there are some things that are coming out differently, especially if you look at the press release that was submitted by the Attorney General, Chris Carr, for the state of Georgia. He laid out vividly what appears to be the mishandling of the case from the very beginning, and people in very high-ranking positions, in DA positions, not providing initial disclosure and notification of their involvement in the matter before taking on roles officially. That's another reason why the leadership on this case has changed so much, is because it especially with the second DA that was on it, we learned that there was some probable improper actions from that perspective. But in general, April, this is a part of that same sad narrative that we continue to see across the nation, where it just feels as an African-American male, and I consider myself to be an accomplished African-American male, raised by a single mother and getting 3 degrees, with one being a law degree and barred in 2 states. I still feel that at any moment, something could happen to me in an outrageous manner, because there seems to be little care altogether for the lives of Black men. And I don't know when we became the front door mat of America, to where everyone just want to wipe their feet on us and clean the mud off their shoes on Black men. But unfortunately, that's what we're seeing now. I want to be very extremely clear here. I'm not speaking about this from a racist perspective, because we have seen many reasonable, real Christian value Caucasian Americans speaking out against this matter too. You know, and those are the ones that we need to bring in solidarity with us, because we are the majority. The majority of the people know that the actions that we are seeing are just improper and not correct. But I'll let Attorney Jackson speak on the criminal side of it, you know, since that's his wheelhouse.
Well,
Yes.
I guess, you know, chiming in on piggybacking on Attorney Reese, you know, having, you know, been involved in some, you know, high profile cases during my time at district attorney's office, things have to be handled in a delicate manner. And the reason why I say that is you've got a lot of issues going on. One issue is you want to make sure that justice is swift, that their warrants were taken out in a swift manner. The police department looked at it, and they saw there was probable cause to make an arrest, and you would hope that those arrests would be made swiftly. But one thing that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, and I want to say this from a defense attorney standpoint, you always have to be careful. And I know people say go out and arrest. It should have been an arrest made quickly. But also you have to have forethought and thinking about the future. You want to make sure that any prosecution of the case sticks, because you don't want to have a defense attorney, accomplished defense attorney, come in and say, well, you know what? The search warrant had some mistakes on it. Thus, due to what they call fruit of the poisonous tree, because there could be a rush, then you may have evidence that would not be admissible during the course of the trial that could lead to their exoneration. So not saying or making a judgment how it was handled as far as should the arrest warrants been made 5 days, 10 days, 30 days, or 45 days later. I think, you know, looking at both sides, me being now a defense attorney and a former prosecutor, you want to make sure that every piece of valuable evidence was gained lawfully, that there's no violation of the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure, illegal search and seizure. So these are kind of side issues that you want to be careful of, because the last thing that you want to happen in a case that the case not go forward because of some technicality. Now, and I'm not saying that just to justify the actions of why it took so long, but just to bring to light some of the things that one wants to think about, because you want to make sure that when these gentlemen are prosecuted, that every tangible piece of evidence that points to their guilt is admissible into evidence. Because obviously, with a high-profile case such as this, then not only do you have to look at how the district attorney handles the case, whichever district attorney is appointed, but also you have to look at what judge is going to handle the case. And you don't want to give any judge any out or any avenue that they could make anything that points to those gentlemen's guilt inadmissible, and that's so that a jury would not hear the evidence. So that's point number one. But point number two is it's pretty clear to me that this was, anyone that tries to argue that this was a citizen's arrest is just laughable. Under OCGA 17-4-60, one thing you have to look at, any kind of crime has to be in the presence of that citizen.
In the presence.
Obviously, in this case, they did not witness the young man do anything wrong, commit any violation. So even just from the very beginning, looking at the first sentence of the statute, this can't be a citizen's arrest. Then even go further, has to be a felony. Then you go further, they have to be escaping. Then you go further, they have to have reasonable and probable grounds. So the two people charged, they don't meet not one of the elements to possibly even try to argue that this was a citizen's arrest. So for anyone that says that, it's just laughable. And part two, very, very briefly, I know some people, and looking at some of the comments and media comments, oh, this is a case of possible self-defense. No, that's laughable as well, due to the fact that the law is, even though we have what some call stand your ground, self-defense case, you have no duty to retreat. The problem is there's also the statute that says one who is the aggressor cannot then turn around and argue self-defense. So the two individuals that are charged pursued the young man, pulled out a weapon on the young man. They were at that moment the aggressors. So if one was to argue, Aubrey grabbed the gun or what have you from them, no, the two gentlemen were the aggressors. So he had every right not to have that gun or shotgun, a rifle pointed at him. He had every right. He was defending himself from the attack from the two men, the father and son. So for anyone to say that they have a good claim to self-defense, in my opinion, is just simply laughable at this point.
I have some questions coming in. Why is it that now they're going back showing a video from 2017? That's not going to erase what happened in 2020. I don't understand what's the point of going back trying to show something of this young man from 2017. We're in 2020. That does not justify what they've done to him now. So how is that, helping anybody's case or trying to make him out to be a criminal when he wasn't? So what is the standpoint on that?
Well, and I haven't seen what necessarily video you're speaking of, but I will mention this. And this is sometimes a tactic by certain defense attorneys. If you don't have a good case, then you take the shift off the facts of the case, then you blame the victim. And that, I'm assuming, is what, so the facts aren't on my side. I don't have, good self-defense. I don't have grounds for a citizen's arrest. So now what do? I attack the victim. And you'll see the same thing in like sexual assault cases such as that, where you have the assaulter or the rapist or that person, then you go back and so when you don't have a good case, then you attack the victim. Oh, she was out at the club, or she was dressed like this, or she's had sex with this, many men, or she's been divorced 3 times. Those type of things you begin. So as you can see, someone out there is perpetuating this to take your eyes or the focus off of the reality of what the action of these two men, to then take put the focus on something that this victim may or may not have done, which, as you said, has absolutely nothing to do with what took place in this incident.
Yes. And then some people believe that it should be 3 arrests instead of 2. And I am one of those people that believe that the third person should be arrested also. The person that videoed this crime should be arrested. That's my personal opinion, and it's a thought of a lot of other people. What is your thought on that, Attorney Reese?
And maybe some of our guests from the Brunswick area can help us with this, but I've been trying to clearly understand why was that individual, I think his name is Brian Williams, is that correct?
Roddy.
Why was he filming that day and happened to just be filming Mr.